Welcome back to Axis Anime. I'm Henshin Ikeda, and today I'll be doing a walkthrough and review of Sword Art Online Episode 20. Now, if you remember from last episode, we get to see Lefei take out the Tracer Bat that was following both her and Kirito. And as soon as she ends up destroying the bat, it comes to her attention that the Salamanders are the ones following them. Now, we're taken to the corridor, which is a bridge, and we see Kirito take out the Salamanders. He holds Lefei back for support, and he transforms with his illusion magic into this half-human, half-ram creature, which takes out all the Salamanders. So that was an amazing feat in itself. Now, just before he can finish the last Salamander off, Lefei ends up pausing and stopping him so they can interrogate the last of the Salamanders. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Now, Kirito transforms back into his original form, and instead of interrogating this guy, he bribes him, and they become buddy-buddy. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Now, what we do find out is Sidgard has been spying for the Salamanders. And why has he been spying? Well, apparently there is going to be a signing ceremony for alliances between the Kate Sith and the Sylph. So that's kind of interesting. Now, the catch is, if the Salamanders attack one of the leaders, whichever leader they end up killing, they end up taking over that territory and taxing so-and-so's territory for 10 days. So that's kind of interesting. And again, they get about 30% of the profits from that territory. So I thought that was really interesting. But again, that was last episode, and this is a new episode. But before I end that, I should add, the episode did leave off, well, I should say end, with Kirito and Lefei sprinting through a cave, through monsters, before time runs out to save this signing ceremony. But again, that was last episode, and this is a new episode, so let's dive right in. And again, I'll keep my final thoughts and my rating at the end of the clip, so stay tuned, but let's dive right in. Now, we open up this episode exactly where we left off from last episode. We see Kirito and Lefei running through that little tunnel, going through those monsters, and it looks like they're about to fall, I guess, and they are falling for a brief few seconds, and then they start flying. So they do make it all the way through the tunnel real fast. Now, what we do find out is that there's 20 minutes left until the signing ceremony takes place. So again, that's very important as of right now. But again, that's where the opening scene was at. Moving on. Now, we are taken to a different location, I guess. I'll just give you the general location of where we're at. We are in ALO. We're at the Butterfly Valley neutral territory, and we see Yui. She's picking up 68 different players on her radar, which is kind of interesting. Now, we don't yet know who the 68 players are, but she has a feeling it's a salamander. So she points out there are 68 salamanders, like the soldiers, more or less. And I guess also in front of them is 14 more people that are ahead of them, both the Sylph and the Cat Sith, per se. I believe I pronounced that right, Cat Sith. I get a kick out of saying that name, because I know that's not how you say cat, because C-A-I-T is not cat. But again, there are 14 diplomats that are in front of them, both from the Sylph and the Cat Sith side. They're diplomats. And the 68 players they found on radar actually are the Salamander attack force. But again, we're taken to a different scene. So this different scene was a little more kind of interesting. We see Lefei, and she's telling Kirito to go to the World Tree because she believes it's too late. I mean, you have less than 50 seconds. They're not going to make it. And she's telling him, I'm going to go save Sakyu, which is the leader of the Sylph, and she wants Kirito to go to the World Tree to basically save himself. Yeah, Kirito, he is not that kind of guy that backs down. He said it before, he'll say it again. I'm here for the long run. And guess what? He brings it. He's not running away. He's going in. And that's what I love about this character. Now, we are taken to a different scene, and apparently we do see the salamanders. They are there. They're landing in, and I thought that was kind of interesting. It looks like they're about ready to attack, and they catch the diplomats off guard. So it's like right on cue. Kirito jumps right in and stops the ceremony, per se, like stops the salamanders from attacking, and that I thought was amazing in itself. He made a perfect entrance. That is what a rogue superhero is supposed to be like, you know? That was perfect. Literally right on cue. But sorry, I digressed. Let's keep going. Now again, Kirito appears out of nowhere. Now he wants to see the leader of the salamanders, whoever's in charge of this little attack force. He wants to see them. Now, apparently, he claims to be an ambassador for the Spriggan Undine Alliance. and he tells that to the commanding officer of his attack force. Now that's a little hard to believe because this guy's wearing like outdated gear, weak weapons. I mean, that's Kirito. He's got weak crap on him, even though he's super strong. But no one knows that he's super strong. Remember that. So I thought that was kind of funny. Now again, he's trying to tell the Salamander leader, do you really want 4 races against you, Salamander? Like the Salamander group? Because I mean, he is part of an alliance. You've got Kirito, who's saying he's part of like a different alliance, which is 2 different races, and then you have 2 other races that are on the bottom about to ally themselves with each other. And he's telling this Salamander leader, do you want 4 races attacking you now? He thinks about it, and then the Salamander leader, he tells Kirito, okay, well, if you survive my attack for 30 seconds, I'll believe that you're an ambassador. So then here we go, we're getting ready to fight. I'm like, sweet, another fight already. This is perfect. Now apparently the leader of this little campaign, his name is General Eugene. Now I hope I pronounced his name right, because I did check it out both on Wicca and through 2 different subs that I was reading. So it's going to be pronounced Eugene regardless. E-U-G-E-N-E, Eugene. And again, General Eugene happens to be the strongest player in ALO. Coincidental. Wow, Kirito, you really know how to pick battles, I'll just say that. But again, the Salamander leader, we find out a little more background. He's a brilliant strategist, and again, he is the strongest player in ALO. Now, he has a younger brother who is called Mortimer, and Mortimer is a valiant warrior. So that's what we find out. And again, in offline, they're real brothers. That's kind of interesting. Actually, pretty interesting. But again, that was just a little information about General Eugene and his brother Mortimer. Now we're taken to a different scene where 30 seconds has now passed. You know, surprisingly, you know, Kirito's still alive. No, we knew he was going to stay alive. It was obvious. Now, Eugene doesn't care. He still wants to kill Kirito, so he's going after him. Now, Kirito, he puts a smoke screen out, and he goes straight down to Lefay and takes her sword and goes all the way up to the sun to do a surprise attack on this guy. And then he attacks straight from the sun right at Eugene after Eugene gets his bearings. Because he's trying to say, did this guy run? Where is he at? No, he was hiding in the sun with 2 swords, but you can only see one when he attacks. And again, he attacks from the sun, and it is amazing. He's just butchering Eugene left and right, chopping at him. He blocks with his actual sword, and then secretly pulls out his other sword and cuts Eugene in half. I was amazed. I thought this would be a longer battle. No, Kirito does not waste any time. Now that's why I like this guy so much. He cuts the bull and takes the guy, literally. Cuts him right in half, down the middle. Now, on to the next scene. We see Eugene, he's being brought back to life. No, good sportsman-like, they're bringing him back to life. And again, we see a character that looks familiar. His name's Kugamine. I think that's how you pronounce his name. K-A-G-E-M-U-N-E. And if you don't remember who this guy was, he was the first salamander. Well, he was in charge of the first salamander group that was taking out Lefay, Rikon, or Rikun, however you want to pronounce his name, and Kirito. And he's telling Eugene that this is the guy who took out our group, so maybe you should watch out for him. Maybe he is who he said he is. Then he also adds he can confirm he saw an I hope I pronounced it right, it's called an Undine, which is who Kirito said he was an ambassador for the alliance thing between the Spriggans and the Undine. And again, I'm not even going to say his name. This guy is basically telling Eugene, yeah, apparently he is an ambassador. I'm like, are you sticking up for Kirito even though that's BS? What? I didn't see no Undine around when you were battling him. You got wiped with the floors just with Kirito, and Lefay was watching. Where's this third-party guy? The only third-party guy we saw was Rikon, or Rikun, however you want to pronounce his name. So that was kind of interesting. Well, plus Yui, which was in his pocket. Now, moving on. Again, we see Eugene, he backs down. Obviously, he backs down. He accepts that Kirito is actually an ambassador. Now, he says, well, no harm, no foul, but I want to fight you next time I see you. He definitely wants a rematch. You can see he's like boiling, so it was kind of funny. Now, the Undines or Spriggans, hard to believe that they would ever ally themselves through Kirito. He would be an ambassador, so I thought that was kind of funny. But again, sorry, I get off topic here. I thought that was kind of interesting how he brought that up. Both Eugene and Kirito will fight again. At least that's what the promise was made, so that was kind of funny. And again, that's the end of the battle. One group goes one way, and the diplomats go back onto their signing ceremony. So that was a small little battle there. Now we do a little catch up. This is the next scene. We see Sakiyu, which is the leader of the Sylph. I hope I pronounced her name right. Sakiyu, and he's kind of ticked off about Sidgard. She's getting a catch up in what happened to Sidgard in general. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Now she knows everything about what's happened to Sidgard, and kind of gets interesting. She's talking about something called a 5.0 patch, and why this is kind of why Sidgard may have become the salamander spy, was because of this. There's something called a 5.0 patch that's going to be released soon, and it's called the reincarnation system. It basically allows you to keep all your stats and your level, but you get to switch whatever race you are. So supposedly he could become a salamander, and because he's been spying for the salamanders, he'd be welcomed. Because apparently Sidgard's the kind of character that would want to take everything with him. So that's kind of interesting. So that was actually a nice little information we get to know about his character. Now the deal again was, he had, in order for Sidgard to make good on his deal, he had to take the head of the Sylph leader, which was Sakiyu, provided on a silver platter. And by doing that, he'd be welcomed in as a salamander once the reincarnation system would be active. So that's again interesting information. Now we're taken to a different scene where we see Sakiyu. She's telling Lu, which is another character, to open a moonlight mirror to Sidgard, which is kind of like a telephone, but it's not, because you get to see the reflection of whoever you're talking to. So it's kind of interesting. And she's telling Sidgard, well, you're gonna get what you want, buddy. You want out of this territory so bad, you're banished. You're a renegade. And man, Sidgard is so pissed off. That's all I can say. Wow. But so ends it for Sidgard. On to the next scene. We see Kirito. He admits not being an ambassador for the Spriggans and the Undyne. He says he was bluffing. And that was one heck of a bluff, because if he would have botched that, it would have been the end of him. Now, apparently, Lu picks on Kirito, kind of. I thought it was a little funny. This is the little scene where we see all the girls going around Kirito in general, if you don't know. But we see, again, Lu's picking on Kirito, and again, I thought it was kind of funny. But I guess I can say it. She wants him to become his mercenary for the cat Siths. I was like, but he's a Spriggan. So technically, he is a renegade right now. Why not? But no, I was a little embarrassed to say this other part, but I'll just say it. Again, we see she asks Kirito to become a mercenary for Kate Sith, but just roughly after that, boobs. I'll say it, boobs. This is my male side jumping up. See, I'm blushing now. I thought it was hilarious. I'm like, this is a game, yet somehow women still have a feminine touch in it. You see the leader of the Sylph, Sakiyu. She's getting really chummy with Kirito with her breast. She's like, well, she's talking to Kirito, saying, maybe we can go out for drinks, after this. She's trying to sucker him into her guild, not her guild, but her group, become a mercenary for her. So now you got two different territories fighting over Kirito, and it was hilarious. But then, out of nowhere, Kirito's like, you know what, I'm good. In fact, no, I'm good. And then, just prior before he said that, you see LeFay jump out. He's like, no, he's with me. He's my. Yeah, shut up, LeFay. If you're not going to say it, don't bother trying to complete that sentence. That's all I can say. Come on. And offline, you're brother and sister, even though you're cousins technically. So it's not going to go anywhere. But again, she doesn't know that just yet. But again, Kirito steps up to the plate and says, girls, it's not going to happen. Thank you for the offer, though. And says, well, LeFay pretty much promised me to take, she's taking me to the World Tree. Now, later on throughout the scene, we find out Kirito does join both of the territories, both the Sylph and the Kate Sith. I think I pronounced that right, because they actually are going to be going to the World Tree in general, because that was their goal to begin with. Because now they are most definitely stronger than they were before, since they weren't, because the ceremony wasn't interrupted. Both groups can combine now and become allied. So now they stand a better chance against Salamander if this is going to happen again. But again, sorry, way off guard there. Let me jump ahead a little bit more. Let me get back on track. Now we see Kirito. He gives these diplomats, which are now allies, 100,000 Yuled Mithril pieces, which is currency within this game. 100,000. It's a big bag. It was hilarious. This is just to help their war efforts and get them prepared for what's to come. And again, we find out that both the leaders of both these groups are explaining to Kirito it may take 2 or 3 days to get ready. Kirito doesn't really have that much time left. I'm just pointing that out. Remember, on the 26th, Asuna gets married, regardless. So, he better step it up. Now, we are taken to kind of more of a side scene. He's explaining they're going to A run. He'll be waiting at the base of the tree while everyone's ready. So he's heading to the base of the tree, so he's going to A run. So again, that's where that small little scene ends. Now we are taken to one more scene, which this definitely added to the episode in my opinion. We see Asuna, she's in the birdcage, and she types in the numbers 811 3 23 2 9 into that little digital device that she saw in the mirror, the password from, you know, so-and-so episodes ago, like an episode or so ago. So this is kind of interesting, because you know what? Password works. Surprisingly, she gets out, and the first thing that comes to mind is like Kirito. First thing that comes to mind, she knows Kirito either is in the game or is offline, either or, waiting for her. She's going to find him. So that's the end of the episode. She's free. Now, final thoughts. I'm curious to see where this alliance is going to be taking the Sylph and the Kate Sith. You know, I'm kind of interested. Where's it going to go when they finally get to the base of the tree? Are they going to be in huge numbers, small numbers? We don't know. Now, as for Sidgard, is he going to become a real renegade and go after Kirito or side with the King Oberon when the time comes? Well, we don't know. I mean, he's now pissed. He no longer has a territory. I would assume he's going to go after someone. Now, as for, I'm not going to say LeFay per se, but Raccoon, are we going to see more of him now that he no longer has to be the mole of Sidgard? Where's he going to be? Is he going to join the group now? I'm hoping for it. Be nice to see another new face play more active in the series. And again, Kirito's friends from the original Sword Art Online game, I'm wondering if, you know, Flynn and everyone else, I'm wondering if they're going to actually join in. So I'm still waiting on that. But again, that ends it for my final thoughts. Not a lot. I didn't want to make it too long since we're already going above 17 minutes. I should also point out for my final rating, I'm going to give this a solid 4.5 out of 5 because I love this episode. I should give it a 4 out of 5, but I'm giving it a 4.5 out of 5 because I loved it. We saw battle scenes, we saw the whole plot coming together, and we get to see Asuna free. So in my book, 4.5 out of 5. But definitely comment down below, thumbs up, thumbs down, subscribe above, and comment down below, as I said before. Let me know what you thought of this episode and maybe your thoughts on what's going to happen in the next episode coming up. And definitely check me out on Twitter and follow me if you want. But again, that ends it for my walkthrough and review of Sword Art Online episode 20. Now, I still have a few more walkthroughs and reviews to do, but probably tune in tomorrow for those, because I'm pretty much done for tonight. But again, that ends it for now. Before I go, gotta say it. Can't stop the access, but you can watch the feed. I'll see you later, guys.